Welcome to the KP Podcast, where we talk about the business of real estate. A podcast about leveraging opportunities, growing your business, and experiencing financial freedom. Here are your hosts, Keith Anderson and Peter Cambukos.
Welcome to the KP Podcast, everybody. I'm Pete Cambukos. We're here with our co-host, Keith Anderson. Keith, how's it going today, man?
It is going good. How about yourself, Pete?
Good. Doing good. We're just coming up on Christmas time here. Awesome time of the year. And, as we're getting into the new year, this is a time when we see a lot of people talk about, resolutions, new beginnings, starting new careers, maybe thinking about getting into real estate, if you will. And that kind of leads to what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of changes coming into the new year and sets up quite a bit of stuff, it's just kind of a natural, weird day that we said, oh, new year, new us. Every year we have the same concept.
This is going to be the year.
Yeah, and this is a big year for my wife and I. So we're having a baby on the way.
Congrats.
And we just found out just here a couple days back that we're having a girl.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So congratulations. So he's going to be, everybody wish him well. This is going to be their first baby girl.
Those of you guys that are going to be following my podcast years in advance, when my daughter's 18 years old, watch out, okay? Men specifically. So, no, we're super excited about it. My wife and I taking on our first kid at the same time and a lot in store. But again, it kind of coincides with the same thought of like each year brings its new challenges and its new things. And so talking a little bit about real estate and what this looks like, there are probably a lot of listeners or a lot of people that came into this year saying, I hate my job. I hate what I do. I want to do something different. I've always wanted to be such and such, right? And one of those big statements all the time is, I want to be that real estate agent. I want to be fixing flippers on TV. What is all those shows that you see? Flip That House. I want to go see beautiful. Selling Sunset. That's been popular as of lately on Netflix. You
know what I love about like Flip That House or whatever any of those shows are is they never have like any other costs or fees, right? It's just hey, here's what we paid for the house, and then this was our repair costs, and then we sold it for this. Like there's never any carrying costs or finance costs or like fees later on. It's just super clean and easy.
Well, and I think even more so, we're starting to really make being a real estate agent kind of like a famous thing. Like it's really glamorous. And so a big part of that is television and media and things like that.
Are you saying it's not glamorous, Keith?
It's not always as glamorous. It's a great career if you work hard at it and you put in the work. And so we have these industry leading videos such as Selling Sunset, right? On Netflix. It's been extremely popular. I think they're on their third season. My wife absolutely loves this show. And it is completely non-realistic when it comes to the real estate market. All you see is events and showing multi-million-dollar houses. And so sometimes when people come into the industry, they're thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to do an event lifestyle with all these billionaires showing these multi-million-dollar houses. And so it gives us this wrong interpretation of what being a real estate agent is, which does bring us to our next point of how well does this industry handle such a revolving door of agents on a consistent process. And so one of the biggest stat lines that we see, which is absolutely crazy, and it's just wild to see these numbers change, but over 90% of the industry turns over and leaves every 3 years.
Yeah.
90% of the new agents coming into the industry, they leave in 3 years. So if you look at that number, that is the worst when it comes to stability of a long-term career. Like most average people go to their job and work longer than 3 years at a given job.
Yeah.
But real estate, no go.
Yeah.
Why is that, Pete?
So there's a lot of reasons for it, right? And we'll go over some of those today. But yeah, I mean, that's an incredibly high turnover rate. So you see, just a small percentage, like you said, 10% or just over 10% that stay in it long term. And so, it's got a lot of churn there with new folks coming in. And, I think to go over today, probably the three biggest reasons, but the one that I want to start with is kind of goes off of what you were just saying there with what you see on TV or social media, which is the expectation is wrong, or what they thought it was going to be is not there. So I would say number one is not having the proper expectation of what they're getting into, right? What's one of the things that we hear, or at least I hear really consistently from new folks that are just getting in the industry? I hear a couple of things, but they're all kind of along the same lines. This is harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Or conversely, again, if we're looking at some of these TV shows, is, well, I really like to show houses. I really like to look at houses. To which, sometimes we'll respond, well, who are you showing these houses
When I bought my house, it was really fun to go through that process. Yeah. I think I could do that.
I think everybody likes looking at houses.
Easy.
Yeah, everyone looks at houses.
So, and it's a great point, Pete. And expectations are everything in our industry. And so we got to remember where people are coming from, right? Mm-hmm. So their expectations are usually, like you said, a couple things. It's minimal work. It's a people-pleasing job, mm-hmm. right? With not a lot of back-end stuff involved in it. And then the other part of it is the time, right? Yep. So the other thing is they think, real estate agents don't work full-time. They work mm-hmm. part-time. They have other gigs. They make six figures and drive nice cars, and they don't have to work very hard very often.
Barely do anything.
They set their own schedule. They can hang out with their kids and do all that stuff. And part of this is true. There are certain things that are truths for someone that's been in the business 5, 6, 7 years and have built a career and mm-hmm. a business that works while they're sleeping. The hard part is agents come in with the expectation that it's going to be like that day one.
Yep.
That they're going to come in and start showing houses to all these clients. But it takes years and systems to build something that it lets you work when you sleep. And in fact, that's the hardest part, is it takes 6 times, 10 times more effort for the first 6 months than it does for the rest of your career.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, if you look at it from that perspective, most people forget, especially agents, and most agents, I would say one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason that they fail is they don't look at this as coming in and starting a business or running a business. What other business can you get into for, a few $1,000s, whatever it costs to, go through school, get your license, do whatever the fees are there. You're in for a couple of $1,000, and that you expect to come in here, like you said, and not work your butt off, not work all those hours, put in all that time, try to grind this out and build something and build this system. What other kind of business are you going to start and just walk in and be like, hey, I'm going to work part-time now and I expect to make well into the 6 figures right off the bat. This is going to be super easy. No one would go into any other business expecting that. However, we have agents every day that come into this business and they do expect that. They do think that that's going to happen, which is crazy to me because it's just like anything else. You have to build this business. You have to build your clientele. You have to build your reputation. You have to build your systems. You have to work hard in how are you going to prospect and follow up and find clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so you have to come in with the right expectation that it's still going to take a 40-hour work week. So a big one
or more,
most likely more. And so the thing to think about in real estate is when you start a career like real estate, you are starting from scratch. You are building a business. So you're basically a startup company. Mm-hmm. You're literally trying to get funding. That's why they say, like, if you guys, and that's going to bring us into our next major point, and it's going to be the compensation, the finances, and the mindset of how much can I get paid, how often, and it kind of ties into expectations because
being prepared
for those costs. So, a great mentors that are in the industry, they say, have 6 months worth of pay set aside because you're not going to make anything for your first 6 months. If you have that mentality, you can come in with a full head of steam and build something bigger than right now. If you come in with a need to make money, you will always be chasing your next commission check and never build a business. That's the problem with real estate, is you're looking at not as a startup. A startup company, they don't start a business or a big software company and expect to make money week one. They don't do that. They're hoping that by investing their time, money, and resources over the course of the next 6 months, year, 2 years, that they'll be able to turn a profit. Yeah. They're taking loans out. They're diving into their finances to try and believe in a dream. So if your dream is to be a real estate agent, shouldn't you have that exact same mentality if you're going to be a self-led entrepreneur startup company?
So, yeah, and to say that, jumping in without that proper preparation, right? So it's very important, like you said, and maybe you've got a spouse or, if you're young, maybe you're still living at home or somebody that can help out with that. But yeah, if you've come in there and you're on your own and you've got, you don't have anything saved up or you don't have anything going, look, we can sugarcoat it, we can lie about it, but the truth is that's probably not going to work out, And so you want to be honest with people up front. And it's like you said, you're not going to get paid at the very least. If everybody understands, you've got to get through the escrow period, which if everything works right is on average 30 days. Obviously it could be shorter or longer.
Yeah.
But you're talking about an average. And so typically what we look at is a 90-day cycle in real estate. And that's typically even after you've got stuff going, meaning when are you going to meet somebody, how long until they either list or you're buying, you're going through this phase of getting the property ready or finding the property, getting someone under contract, then going through the entire escrow period, which, like we said, 30 days. And so, maybe you can shorten that all the way up to, 45 days for the whole thing on the short end. But still, that's not going to be right out of the gates.
Yep.
That's not going to be brand new, because when you're brand new, you've still got to learn what you're doing and train. And no, passing the real estate exam doesn't tell you anything about running a business. It doesn't tell you anything about how to go find those clients. So you're not coming out of school prepared. So you've still got to go in there and learn how to do this and figure this out.
Yeah. And I think I had a good example, a good analogy that you guys can use to help mindset wise with real estate. And so I was talking to a couple of agents the other day, and we were talking about building their pipeline and how to have the proper expectation. So one of the biggest mistakes that agents make right off the bat, and it's one of the reasons they fail, is they start to get that commission breath. Mm-hmm. They're trying to keep a deal together always. Their entire career, it's all about keeping one deal together because it's the only deal they've prepped. It's the only deal they had. They're desperate for this check.
Everything's hinging on it.
When you live paycheck to paycheck in anything you do, in your own personal finances, in your own life, in your investments, whatever it is, if you're doing paycheck to paycheck, you're stressed all the time.
Yep.
When you're building a successful real estate career, the ones that stay there have the mindset that, hey, I'm not making money in the 6 months, but by the time I'm done with my 6 months prep, I'm going to build this never-ending pipeline that's going to last forever. So my analogy that I want to give you guys to help with your mindset is, if those of you that are listeners out there have ever played the game Mancala. Anybody ever played the game Mancala? It's a game where you have a little square rectangular wood panel, and I think there's like 7 carved out circles on both sides with 2 little banks on each side. And the entire goal of the game is to invest your little bucket of rocks and move them across the board and invest these little rocks in each bucket along the way, in the hopes that you're going to have one perfectly hit and you're going to get a big cash payday and so forth. But the whole game premise, or the whole premise of the game, is to invest in these future squares or circles to try and eventually hit. If you play the game on the very last square or the very last circle and you're just depositing it in this little bank and all you're doing is putting one little circle in at a time, you will always lose this game. But it's the people that play from the other end of the board, setting themselves up for future success. Those are the ones that win. So it's the same thing in real estate. When you first start out, your expectation has to be, I'm going to deposit my business into my future real estate bank. Start depositing in that 6-month bank. Snowball out. Hey, I'm going to put this client 6 months out, 8 months out, 6 months out, 5 months out. Mm-hmm. I'm not making any money from that right now, but I'm setting myself up for an amazing career with referrals and growth and a database. If you're always looking for the month deal, the deal that's right now and ready and able, you'll miss out on a consistent pipeline in the future. That's how the roller coaster effect happens. And that's why agents leave based on expectations.
Yep. Because it's, building off of what you just said, what do we always say? What are the keys? Consistency and persistence. You have to stay consistent with what you're doing. You have to keep doing it, and you have to be persistent keep going when it gets tough. And so Keith, we see examples all the time. I'm sure everyone listening knows examples of agents where they've been in the business for a long time. You go, how is this person still here? Yep. How is this person getting business? I'm better than that person. How come they're doing double or triple what I'm doing?
Yep.
And it's because that person was consistent and stayed persistent through that. There are a lot of agents that are not particularly good. They just kept going. They outlasted and they outworked these other folks. And so imagine if you actually were good and you were still consistent and persistent. That's where you get the superstars, right?
So to recap, our first one, right, was expectations. They come into the market with the wrong expectations. They start this career thinking it's not what it actually is. Okay, so that's the first mistake. So make sure if you're out there and you're thinking about a career in real estate, have the proper expectation. Okay. Secondly is preparation. They did not have enough. They weren't prepared enough for what's to come financially and with the work involved in it. Okay. There's a lot more to it than you think. You have to have the right expectation of what you do, and you have to prepare for that journey. It is not a get rich quick scheme. It is a long-term career. And in order to be successful, you have to build that out. The last one is what we just touched on, is consistency. And you have to be able to outlast your competition or your own self. You have to have discipline in that. And what I mean by that is, can you avoid getting burnt out? Another big reason agents leave the industry is they get burnt out. They come in, then maybe they have the right expectation. Maybe they are prepared, but then they choose a medium to build their real estate business on with something they do not love. Yeah. And so a big thing we talk about all the time is, what are you still going to be doing 6 months from now? What are you still going to be doing a year from now, 10 years from now? You want to choose a direction in real estate that gives you life, that gives you purpose and energy. So if you hate talking on the phone, don't choose to start a career in real estate based on cold calling, expireds for sell by owners, and door knocking. Don't do that. If that's not you, don't do it. Yep. Okay. But if you have a private niche and you love people and you want to do open houses and meet people, then do that, because you know you're still going to be doing that 6 months from now. The biggest number 3 factor is, don't choose something that doesn't line up with who you are and burn yourself out.
Yeah, because just like Keith is saying, everything works, just doesn't work for everyone. So it's, what are you still going to be doing 6 months from now? And so that is absolutely a key. Not only everything Keith just said about being who you are and choosing which way to go on it, but actually putting in the time and the effort and the work to get better at that and become an expert at it. So a lot of times, when we're talking about these expectations too, we're talking about what kind of income can be made. And, you'll hear people talk about folks that want to come in and make 6 figures, $1 million in the business, whatever that number is. And we talk about, if you want to compare, a good analogy is sports. So you've got people that want to come in and make professional athlete money, but they're not willing to put in professional athlete work, right? Mm-hmm. Before any of these guys become professional athletes and make that kind of money, in real estate, you can make that kind of money. But these guys are putting in work every day. They're up before everyone else. They're practicing all day, every day, just to get ready for the game. Well, in real estate, our game is when we're meeting clients and when we're setting appointments, or going on appointments, I should say. But the rest of the time, we should be practicing, preparing, training, working on our craft, doing all of the things that lead to those. So when it's game time, we're ready to execute. And if you can do that and put the work in and continue to improve, then you can get to those levels. But you're not going to get there right off the bat. And you're certainly not going to get there if you're not willing to put in the work.
100%. Item number 4. Okay. And here's kind of the one that throws everybody off. So the first ones we've been talking about, it's usually right out the gates, right? It's having the preparation right out the gate. So what about the agents that, because we said every 3 years, we didn't say 97% of the industry falls out in the first year or in the first 6 months. We said in the first 3 years. So there's another bucket of agents here. Okay. They make it through their first year. They might have a great first year. Crush all their personal sphere, all their friends and family buy with them. They make good money. They're like, I'm the best real estate agent in the world. They talk about it. I know everything there is about real estate.
I'm good. I've been doing this for 6 months. I'm good to go.
Oh yeah. I could do this forever. This is easy. I got this, right? And then they hit a brick wall and it hits them right in the face. They help everyone they know, and their game plan, they just depleted their entire lead source. So the big long-term thing that pushes people over the 3-year mark is going to be the growth and knowledge of improving your business systems and structure. It's actually creating the business of it. Some people
actually
can't get lucky. It's having a business. So Pete and I talk about it all the time. Through EXP and through a lot of the stuff that we've done, we've heard some awesome leaders just talk about certain things, and it comes from the leadership. And they gave us this quote, and they said, "What got us here today is not going to be what gets us there tomorrow." And it's the exact same concept of what built your first year in real estate business, let it be personal sphere and referrals, might not necessarily be what takes you to the next level year 2, year 3, year 4. So what that means is you always have to be growing. You always have to be learning, always have to be training, building, practicing. It's like any type of profession. You might get lucky one year and hit it out of the park, but you have to always be working on your craft, getting better. If the same surgeons perform the same type of surgeries year over year and never improved, they would become obsolete. They have to improve and get better. There's new methods that come out every single year, and you have to adapt to continue to work your business. Same thing in real estate.
Yeah, it's also about building that pipeline and, like you said, not just those systems, but that database and that business. Because part of it, and sometimes this is the most dangerous thing, is that initial success.
Luck,
because like you said, a lot of times it's based on luck or just circumstances, and then they think they know what they're doing. It's kind of like that saying, a little bit of knowledge is dangerous, because now they think they know what they're doing. And so, when you look at folks that sometimes come right out of the gates and maybe, like you said, it's referral sources, family, friends, or whatever. Well, Keith, if I told you and you're brand new and you've been working your, family and friends and everything, and you sold them all houses, or you sold all their houses, and now you've done that. And I go, okay, Keith, you need to go out this week and find yourself a deal. Well, how are you going to do that? You know what I mean?
I'm out of friends and family. They're all done.
You got everybody.
You go convince them to sell again.
Yeah, you go back to them. Month. I know you just bought something, but listen, I need you to sell it again. Yeah,
you know what? You don't need this house. You need a pool. We got to move this.
So, yes, you all want the referral business. Of course, you want the friends, families, referrals. You want all that, but you can't rely solely on that. You've got to have additional avenues, additional systems, and additional resources so that you can consistently create your business. And so that is what you're talking about when you say building a business and building those systems. You want to capture all of those referrals and continue to grow that network, but you don't want to be solely reliant on any one thing, because if something slows down, has a bad stretch, runs out of people that well, sure, you got to keep adding to that, but what are you doing in the meantime? And so you want to have additional sources that go out there. And so just to give an example, to make sure everybody understands we're on the same page. So let's say you want to obviously work your personal sphere database, your friends and your family, the people that are closest to you. But in addition to that, learn how to do open houses really well, for example. So you can go out there and get in front of people that are actively looking, that you didn't know before, but these are people that are actively looking right now. Or if you're, like you said, you're doing your cold calling, that's another avenue. Or you're working your social media, that's another avenue. Or you're doing events, that's another avenue. Or you're working with referral business partners, what am I talking about? Like lead partners.
BNIs and groups like that. Yeah. Stuff, vendor lists and things like that.
That's another avenue. So on and on and on and on. There's, a list of however many we've got that you've got different avenues, just depending, like we said before, on what are you still going to be doing. You just can't rely on one thing.
And that's number 5. You just nailed it. And that's diversification, right? It's diversifying your business, making sure you have more than one stream of income, if you will, and your lead sources are your income. Just like any investor, no great investor out there has everything dropped into one bucket. No one's doing that. They have backup plans and A's and B's and C's all invested, right? If you're going to build a great business, you have to diversify. You have to have multiple options, multiple routes to build, because what works one year might not work the next, and so forth. You have to be prepared if you build a great business. So that's all we got for you guys today. Super excited. Hopefully you got something out of it. Don't be one of those early agents that jump into the industry, burn out, or get out in the first 3 years. Build a longevity business. Build something that's going to last, and build a career that's going to take you years and years in the making. And again, if you have questions, reach out to us, questions@kpleadaz.com, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the platforms. And we'd love to hear some feedback from you guys. And on the next podcast is what you need to do next.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next time.